All right, everyone. Today we have a Canadian icon, the real Brad McCallum. His team has done over 100 million in sales, the McCallum Group team. He was Innovator of the Year finalist. He's a realtor at Real Brokerage, Canada. He's a YouTube guru. He makes amazing marketing videos. He has great hair and a great smile. Let's get started with Brad McCallum. Hey, Brad, how are you today?
I'm great, guys. Thank you so much for having me on today. This is awesome.
Yeah, so get us started here. How did you get started in real estate? How long you been doing it for? When did you start your team? All the good stuff.
Cool. So I've been a realtor now. I don't know. Everyone makes fun of how people say it, so I don't know if I'm ever saying it right. I've been a realtor, just the two
Realtor.
syllables.
You're
Yeah,
good.
that's it. I've been a realtor now for 6 years. I was basically my story was I was about 39. I'd been running a renovation design business for about 15 years in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And for probably about 8 or 9 of those years, Calgary was in like a deep recession. And we just kept on kind of going up and down in the economy, very oil and gas based where I'm from. And yeah, I was a sole income earner in the family. And I felt like I wasn't really making any progress or getting anywhere in my life. And my son was starting kindergarten, and I was just diagnosed with I had like a tumor growing on the side of my face over here. So if you guys know the Beastie Boys,
Yeah.
Adam MC of the Beastie Boys died of product gland cancer, and so I had the same thing. And so it was like I kind of came to this inflection point when I was 39, and I realized I'm ready to go and make some of that easy real estate money, quit this like renovations and design and all that stuff. And I went and got my GED because I was telling my son, hey, you're going to go to school now, listen to your teacher, be a good student, all that stuff. And then of course I hadn't even got my thing. So my life was kind of falling apart at 39. I got started, got my real estate license then. And I quickly realized, didn't know what I was doing. So I got into video marketing just by accident. My dad had a listing that I'm about 6 months into my career, he was going to bring to market. He had told me the whole time, like, Brad, you're going to get the listing. And then as we got closer to the listing going live, he started to ghost me. He wasn't calling me back or responding to me or anything. And I thought, oh my gosh, what's going on? I finally get him on the phone. And my dad's like, listen, it's a lot of money for your mom and I. It's a lot of money. And so we're thinking about going with an agent that's got a little bit more experience. And so I just felt like I was at this really low point in my life. I wasn't making the progress I'd wanted to. But in that moment, I thought, man, if my own dad won't work with me, I'm devastated. But it kind of like got me onto video marketing by accident. I was just starting to scramble in that conversation with him, trying to think like, what like value would I be able to actually bring him that other agents maybe weren't doing in my market? And I was, watching a lot of YouTube at the time. And so I was like, hey, I'm going to create a really cool like listing video. And he just stared at me. And I was like, well, listen, I've been watching guys like Casey Neistat and Peter McKinnon and Matty Hapoy and all these cool creators, and they're all making this cool stuff. And I'm going to do that for you, Dad. And he just stared at me because he's a farmer from Saskatchewan. And at that point in time, I just said, like, listen, if you don't give me this listing, you're never going to see your grandkids again. And so I got the listing. And from there, I started doing a video. I did a video for it. But what it really kind of kicked off for me was I stumbled on to like starting to ask myself a much better question every morning rather than like, where's my next deal coming from? Or how do I get more leads? I started working on my value proposition. So in other words, what's in it for the people that were working with me, the people that trusted their home to me. And so at that point in time, when I started doing my video stuff, I did that first video on that listing. People were coming in to the open house and like, oh my God, you're the guy from the video. We're like, that's crazy. Like we thought it was like an actor or something like that. You're the realtor. Okay, cool. And I realized it had this weird effect. And then all of a sudden, like friends and family that I was way too nervous to ever talk to about, like, hey, I'm your realtor. If you guys are thinking of selling or buying, like, I just never wanted to be that person that inserted himself in the conversation, or I never wanted to be around like friends that were moving in 5 or 6 months and have them feel compelled to bring it up, or me feel compelled to bring it up that I was a realtor and I could help them. So I just stumbled across video marketing, and I found it as this really neat way to get people to start the conversation with me. It was like this really soft approach for them. I only realized in hindsight, trying to figure out why things have worked out well in sort of hindsight for me, is that it's the foundation of what's called permission marketing, right? And that's why video marketing works so well, is that people are opting into watching it. People are opting into subscribing and to following you. They're opting in because of your content and the brand that you're creating. And because of that, I never had to start asking those questions about like, hey, where's my next business coming from? Instead, I got to just pick up the conversation at the point that my clients, my future clients, or my sphere of influence was ready to have it, which was when they reached out to me to say, hey, my sister is selling her place. Do you do those videos on like every one of your listings? Like, she's had her place for sale and hasn't sold it for a long time. And so that's where it really started. 2 years into that process, or 2.5 years into that process, I was getting so many leads and so much good things happening that I couldn't keep up with it all. Brought in a couple of new agents. COVID hit, like within 3 weeks of them signing with me. I had 17 listings at the time. So my business was fantastic, but all of a sudden, all the ways that I was going to generate leads for them were closed off because they couldn't set open houses and all that sort of stuff. But the video thing, it became so magnified, like the way that the future was going, it just kind of like picked this exponential growth curve that, digital marketing, people buying stuff sight unseen or learning about you or your personal brand, that you could do so much of it before you ever got into that first conversation with you or with them. And so I started my team from there. My team's now grown to 5 agents. I've got a full-time operations manager, a full-time videographer, and myself. And then my wife, she is full-time just managing me, the family. She's in the videos. My kids are in the videos. And and so in that short period of time, I went from almost not getting my own dad's listing to, like, in 2021, I sold about 71 million myself in real estate, which was I don't wish that on anyone. It's a horrible, horrible year of my life. But from it, I learned a lot of good lessons. And now we've got a team we're the 5 or 6 of us. I sell about 7 or 8 higher end homes a year. So I might do 15 or 20 million in production, but the vast majority of my time is spent either supporting the team or growing Real in the way of really just supporting my fellow agents at Real and seeing if we can build something we can all be proud of 5 years from now.
Awesome. So you started this, like, did you have any previous video experience? Like, were you making videos for other things, or was that just sort of I'm going to give it a whirl and see what happens?
So back when I had my renovation and design business, my wife was like a wedding photographer. And so I would go out on the weekends and my wife's like, take pictures of the guys getting ready. I'm like, you realize how terrible that sounds? Like, I don't want to do that. But she's over there, like, and the girls are like all getting ready for their big day. And then I'm over there with the groomsmen and I'm like, just hold your boutonniere. Like, it was such a weird moment to do that. But when I was in there, I was like, I didn't want to screw it up because it was my wife's little business. And so I was like watching, like trying to learn framing and composition and some of that stuff with her camera. And we didn't realize, but she had a Canon 5D Mark II. And at one point, my son, who's now like 13, he was, I don't know, maybe 8 months old at the time. He was like just sitting on the floor in the living room and her camera's out and we were taking a picture and he was just learning like how to walk or how to crawl. And I'm like, man, it would be really cool to have video of this. And I'm holding her camera and I realized, I'm like, wait a second, like it's got this red record button on the back. I had no idea that it wasn't just a picture taking camera, right? So I hit the button and I was like, oh my gosh, now this is a really high-end camera and had really expensive glass or lenses on it. And I got this like video of my son and I realized, I'm like, wow, this just by proxy of it being a good quality camera and a good quality lens, like it looks like the photos my wife takes, but with motion. This is so cool. And so I had caught like a bunch of video for like 10 or 15 minutes, went down and I was like, I went on YouTube. I was like, how do you edit video? And they were like, well, you should use Adobe Premiere. And so I watched a few videos on that. I made one video then, and then of my son crawling at 8.5 months. And if you're really good, you could find it on YouTube. And then a couple of months later, I would take her camera, and we didn't have gimbals and stuff back then. So I bought what was called a fluid head, put it on a tripod. And when I finished my renovations, I would just go to them and I would just do like a really slow pan across the room or something, and 4 or 5 cuts and a little bit of music. And so I did that for about a year, like maybe in 2012. Then there was a couple of family trips I made a video on in like 2014. Then I just like, we had a recession in Calgary. I was busy. So spent the next 3-4 years never touching it again, never really knowing how to do anything with video, just self-taught over YouTube. And I was just over that period of time when I was in transition, I was watching like Tom Ferry stuff, free coaching stuff as I was taking my course. I was just trying to figure out like, what could I do that would be a little bit different. And I'd remembered that when I made those couple of videos for my renovation business, people would talk about them. People were like, oh, I put them on Vimeo. I didn't even have them on YouTube. Like they were on Vimeo, and they're actually still there. You can see these like early day listings. But the first actual tour, like the tours that I do today, I filmed on my dad's listing in like the spring of 2017 or spring or summer of 2017. And it's not very similar, but it's like a big leap away from like a tripod holding. It was the first time I had a gimbal and all that sort of stuff. And I didn't take any courses. I literally spent $8,000 on a credit card that I had no business spending, and showed up on a Thursday morning. I went to the house at 10 a.m. To film it. And I took my laptop and I watched about 25 videos that day on how to set up a gimbal, how to balance a camera, how to shoot in slow motion, how to walk steady with a gimbal. I just watched all these things, and I worked there for 14 hours, got home at like 1 or 2 in the morning. And I stayed up till 9 in the morning. And I just worked on editing that first video. I'm really proud of it. It's still on my channel. I'm still really proud of it to this day. And then I uploaded the video to YouTube, and I uploaded the listing for $200,000 less than we were actually asking, because I was so tired. And I told my dad, it's just, we're going to get a lot of interest now because of this is a thing realtors do. Then I adjusted the price as people realized it wasn't 400,000, it was 6 stuff. But that was the base. That was the start of all of everything that we did. And that's why to this day, I'm a really big believer in agents getting some sort of like level of competence, whether it's CapCut on an iPhone or it's Adobe Premiere on your computer. I think the ability for you to just kind of get the reps in very early on with yourself and your phone, or yourself and a camera, is really, really important if you're going to go down sort of the video journey.
That's awesome. As I feel your pain on your dad not hiring you there, because my mom has one of my best friends from high school, who's a rival of mine now. She has this fridge magnet all over her fridge. So
yeah, it's nice, right? Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. So you're very well known like across kind of like North America in the real estate industry for your videos. So do you have that kind of same success in your local market, like and just regular people that know you all from your videos or the stuff you do?
Well, I mean, it's not like going to a Tom Ferry conference or something where you walk in and coaches have maybe shared some of your videos, so a few people know me there. But in my own market, it's definitely true that like my wife and I will go out and we'll go for dinner, and someone will come up and be like, "Oh man, I love your videos," or at the airport or at the mall or wherever. And so we get a lot of that. And yeah, so there's a lot of like sort of, I guess, a little bit of like local notoriety and celebrity around it. But like the vast majority of people, like if 300 people passed, one person might say something, 299 won't. But when you walk through a mall, you see 1,000 people. So even a couple of times, it's pretty cool to be walking with your son and have like a 22-year-old kid be like, "Dude, I watch all your videos and stuff. Can I get a selfie?" And you're like, "Yeah, I guess so." You always have to do a big nasal inhale first. Yeah.
Yeah. You got one deal a year just from that kind of notoriety in your area. That's well worth it.
You know what? The wild thing is like video takes a lot. The biggest, most important thing agents can do with video, I think, is you learn how to leverage it. Like so often, like we do all the work in the production side of things. And then the last thing we think about is the thumbnail. The last thing we think about is the title or the write-up below. So we get lazy in that part, and we're like, hey, to book a showing, give us a call or something like that. And like, so the creative stopped once you've, edited the video or got the video back. But what you should be doing is leveraging that video absolutely every place. So what I would do is like someone would walk into the open house and they're like, you're the guy from the video. And I'd be like, oh, cool. Like, is your husband going to pop by the open house too? And they're like, no. I'm like, oh, you know what? Well, why don't I send you over this YouTube video? He can check out the house too if you got some interest. And then you've got their contact. Right. And so like, it was always this natural way to share like this piece of value with someone versus trying to get someone to sign into an open house, which just feels so wrong. Like so wrong.
How involved are you still in the creative process? I know at the beginning you said you were learning Premiere and doing all that. You have a lot on your plate now, right? And your videos are so well done. Are you still doing your own editing for a lot of stuff, or is it completely outsourced now?
Yeah, I would say that I'm probably 90% outsourced. Like I am 100% the creative director. So picking locations, what we're going to do, how we're going to shoot, all that stuff. But what I did was I found someone very, like over the last 2 years that made really cool content. Like it was interesting, kind of exciting to watch. Like he was doing lots of like local rap videos, which I didn't even think there was a rap scene in our city and stuff. But it was like the kind of guy that I thought like, oh, he's taking time to light this scene, to find a cool angle. Like he cares as much about the craft as he does about just getting the job done. And so I wanted my whole goal of all my video marketing, especially early on. Well, like, I mean, even to this day, it's just it's kind of shifted a little bit now. But the biggest thing is like, I just want to create something that's worth talking about, for like notable for some reason, right? So like I'll give you an example like this, like my little setup here, this has started so many conversations, right? Just like having a nice studio, having it on a nice camera, having nice lighting and stuff. Like I'll get messages like, I don't understand how you got your camera to look like that, right? Or the lighting to look like that, right? Or you send like a video message to someone in your market and you've got this. It's just at every little touch point, they're like, man, that's cool. That's a little bit next level or a little bit surprising or a little bit remarkable. And like, it doesn't have to be like high quality, high production to be remarkable, but there needs to be something about your content that stands out, that's worth talking about. And that's why that's how I know Kristen is because her content really, really stands out to me. Like I think it's hilarious, it's fun, it's engaging. It's talk worthy, if that makes sense, right? So it's like it's worth talking about, right? Worth bringing up in conversation. And so if our marketing isn't, it's like, well, then find the thing that makes it more talk worthy. And so even if you're really into, like mountain biking or something like that, it's not going to be really interesting to a lot of people. Just like a lot of people aren't into fancy high-end tours or into really funny memes and stuff. But the people that are really into mountain biking, if they know that that's who you are and they can see that, that you're like a decent dude or dudette, they're going to like you. They're going to want to follow you, right? They're going to want to be into what you're into, right? Because I always quote Seth Godin, but I think it is all you need to ever know about marketing just in general. Is he's got this one quote from a book called This Is Marketing that says, people like us do things like this. Like, and that's it. Like, if you want to know why you're spending $48 on a Yeti tumbler, it's because you're identifying with some part of that brand that feels like it's people like us. Like I'm people like them, and people like them, what we do is we spend $48 on a Yeti tumbler. And it's like, it's a weird thing, right? But once you understand that piece, that people like, that's why you can't try to be for everyone, right? Because being for everyone is just like, you're actually end up being for no one, right? But when you're actually for something or you stand for something, like the funny thing about doing YouTube early on, I got a lot of business from people who just, especially early on when it wasn't so popular to do video, I got a lot of business from people that are like, man, I always wanted to do a YouTube channel. Like, I can't believe you put yourself out there like that. Like, like in 2018, people were more worried about putting themselves out there and like judgment and all that stuff. So the amount of people that'd be like, you know what, they'd have us out to their house for a listing presentation. And they'd be like, you know what, I always wanted to do like a cooking channel. or I'm like really into knitting and like I'd love to do a knitting channel, or I'm really into salsa dancing and I'd love to do a channel on salsa dancing. And so just by proxy, the fact that they would see like, man, he's really passionate about this thing that he does and he's willing to put himself out there and go pursue that thing, like they will just take that as like, hey, this is a passionate, like interested, like genuine person. And I don't have to be interested in that thing from that you are into, but I'm for personally, for me, like people like me are like the people that I like, they're people who are passionate and interested and excited and humble, kind, but also like trying to grow. Like there's a lot of that like it doesn't matter what they're into. It's like if someone tells me like I'm really into paragliding and they got me my attention for 20 minutes and they share why they're passionate about what they love about it, like I'm into it. Like I like the next night I'm like, I don't know, like it seems risky, but I'd love to maybe take paragliding lessons. Like, you know, like we're also influenced by people that are passionate about what they do. And so I think that's like a big thing that I tried to share like in my content, was just how excited I was to be here, be anywhere, how grateful I was to be involved in this cool industry. But that I think is one of the biggest things that agents need to do, is just you share this thing that you love, you share that authenticity part, and then you keep, I think it's so important to be slightly involved in that creative process. Like to this day, it's my brand. So I have a vision for what I want my brand to kind of look like. And I know who I am and who I'm not. Like I love like the funny content. Like I would love to do that. And it's just, it would be so weird for people to see me do it. Like it would just be so weird. Like, you know, because it's all one dimensional, right? Like you're like, oh, Kristen, you're the funny girl. Like, I don't know if I want to see a market update from you unless you're also funny while doing your market update. Like, so when I do a market update, which I don't normally do, I include like epic B-roll shots of the city and drones and like graphics and good lighting and a studio setup. So people associate that part of it. Like, okay, he's extra, or he's still himself when he's doing this over here. Right. But so I think there's like just something for everyone to kind of to find like with their own sort of brand journey. But it is the biggest thing is understanding who your audience is and why people are working with you in the first place. And the reality is it's usually people like you.
Yeah, I think Shawn's come up against that a couple times because he's done a couple market videos himself, and his brand is to be funny, same as mine.
Yeah.
And when you post something serious like that without adding like your personality to it, people will make fun of you and be like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
I literally posted a market update one time, and the comments were just tearing me apart how boring and lame it was. I'm so trying to help you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
So your team, are you guys mainly doing like getting your leads and stuff from the YouTube, Instagram, TikTok kind of stuff? Or are you guys door knocking? Are you guys cold calling? How else are you getting your leads? Is it mainly referrals?
It's referrals and inbound interest for Instagram and YouTube. And then of course, you know, all the stuff that comes, all the business that comes out of that, like, you know, open houses and signed calls and all that stuff. So like when I got started, I don't know what it's like now, but like when I got started in YouTube, everyone was talking about how listing, like a channel that would actually attract listings, like just didn't exist. And if you look at my channel from the outside, and it's the first time you're ever kind of considering doing video, you would think my channel is for buyers because I'm touring people around homes. But the unspoken part of it is that people look at our listing videos and they think, okay, when I go to sell my home, I want a video like that for our family to remember, right? And when they look around the community, especially in like lower, you know, like lower transaction environments like we have right now, in a lot of parts of the States, or like I had when I first got my license, where only a third of the homes were actually selling that hit the market, like 2/3 weren't. People were looking around and seeing who was putting in the effort to actually sell the house. And that was the biggest thing that I wanted. I wanted just people to associate that. Like, I just didn't want it to be a popularity contest, right? Like, oh, you know, I thought that person was going to be my person, but then their sister got their license, and of course they're going to go with their sister. right? I wanted them to think like, man, if I go with my sister, I'm not going to get that video marketing. I'm not going to get that added exposure. I'm not going to get all this extra value, right? And like, I won't get the exposure to Brad's audience that he can provide. And so early on, the leverage was I'm the guy that's mainly doing the videos. And then my leverage became I'm the guy who's doing the really creative high-end videos that people are talking about. And then that leverage became something that I could use to reach out to builders and other contractors and developers and say, like, listen, like, we could do this for all of your properties, right? And then all of a sudden that started to snowball that value. But now you get to a point where you're on the other side where you've built an audience. You've got 20,000 plus on Instagram and 40,000 on YouTube and stuff. Like, all of a sudden you have a really large mountaintop. You have a large mountaintop to like scream from the top of about what you're doing in your business, what you're doing in your life, the homes that you're selling. And so that audience now has value. Like, if you think about it, like, people that have a 40,000 subscriber YouTube channel or 100,000 or 200,000, like, they have ad money and sponsors. Like sponsors will legitimately pay to run ads on your stuff. So like, last year we had Maserati offer us a vehicle to sponsor our YouTube channel. Wow. And I was like, it was like $150,000 vehicle. But all I could think about it was like, I don't know if my audience is really like worth getting $1,800 a month, $1,800 a month vehicle payment for free out of it, when really the value of the audience is knowing that I'm authentic. And like, from that, we'll do 60 or $70 million of business out of it. And they're more than happy to do that. But like, you never can get it perfect. Like, we try to be low on the ask when we create our content. Like, this is just meant to be entertaining. But like, I just did a video a few weeks ago called Moving to Calgary, like in 2023, things that you must know. And this video went absolutely wild. Like, it's going really, it'll pass 20 or 25,000 views on YouTube, which is a lot for YouTube. It's already ranking on Google. When you type in Moving to Calgary, it's like the first video that pops up. This is a video that alone over the next year and a half will probably generate $50 million worth of sales, because wow. It will introduce us to so many buyers, so many sellers. It's such a nice natural extension point. Like, you talk to someone, a foreign buyer, or someone who's maybe moving into your market, and you share this video with them, like, hey, why don't you learn something more about our city? It's just a natural way to kind of keep those conversations going. But that video took me 3 days to film, and it took us probably 6 days to edit, and probably cost me at the end of the day, like, with none of my time, like $5,000 or $6,000. And it was there's no guarantee in it. But the fact that now that we have this audience, it makes it so much more leverageable. Like, we've had like the city of Calgary reach out after releasing the video saying, like, could you do more tourism sites around the city? And so there's just a million different ways to leverage your content if it's worth talking about, right? Like, if it's worth kind of separating yourself from others on it.
So do you think
it's smart? Send that to me?
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Shawn.
I was gonna say, would you be able to send that to me or Kristen to post in the Facebook group? I think people would love to see that and what you're doing with
sure.
that. Like, after this or whenever you have time, no rush.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Kristen?
No problem.
Do you think it's smart for agents to be posting both styles of videos, like not just listing tours, but also exploring other avenues to get your face in front of people? Or do you think for the YouTube channel to just do one thing?
So like, when you think about YouTube, what you should think about is essentially like at least 3 different buckets of content, right? So I would say, like, on my channel, when it's just listing videos, I've kind of saturated the market. Like, I don't do international tours. So like, even if you really like one of the homes, the luxury homes that we film and edit, you're like, oh, that's really cool, I want to see another video. And then the next one's like a $400,000 townhome. You're like, well, that's not really what I subscribe for, right? I wanted more luxury high-end homes. That's why guys like Ryan Serhant and Enes Yilmazar and Eric Conover, they're touring gorgeous homes all over the world. And if you just kind of want that like house porn, you can watch them. But for me, my property channel, channel is just purely homes are in and around Calgary. Like every once in a while, I'll do something somewhere else. Like we've got one coming out that's just on the border of Washington on the White Salmon River, right as it feeds into the Columbia River. I filmed it last week with Jen Dillard, a fellow real agent. She called me up. She's like, I got this crazy listing. What do you think? And we flew in for 21 hours and we filmed it, and it's going up on the channel. And I'm excited about it, but that is like those video tours don't do as well as just the Calgary ones,
Right.
because my audience is predominantly Calgary home viewers. So I noticed slower growth in the last year or two with my channel, because YouTube's really good at finding the audience early on. And they're like, oh yeah, these are all the people that want home tours. And so, because there's this existing pool of viewers, and then you create content, and then YouTube tries to find that out of that existing pool of viewers who's interested in it. But then over time, every month or two, just like new listings come to market, new buyers come to market. And as new buyers come to market, new buyers have new interests on YouTube. And so your channel likely grows slower. But then there's another bucket of content. You can make content about your market statistics, right? And those kind of things. And then you'll all of a sudden draw in a whole different group of people that are looking for that more newsworthiness. And then they'll be interested a little bit in your bucket, but they'll subscribe for the one piece. So for us, what I'm trying to do is just create the more searchable content, same style as a listing tour, but make it more of like a Calgary tour. So the first one was the moving to Calgary video, the big epic that's going to stand for a year and a half on this is everything you need to know about Calgary. And it's relatively pertinent to today because, it just was filmed a month ago or just filmed 6 months ago, and not that much has changed. And so in my scripting for that video, I made it so it had some more evergreen qualities to it. But now what I can do is, because I have that Keystone video in that Keystone bucket, which is purely about Calgary, I can make a series of videos that dive deeper in on that topic. So people who are interested in moving to Calgary might really be interested in our 3 favorite, like hippest communities, right? Or the 3 coolest communities on the outskirts of Calgary, right? Or the biggest house for the cheapest price in all of Calgary, like, for the new home, like whatever those things are, if you can kind of YouTube it a little bit, right? Where you make like some sort of like pros and cons, or, like some sort of hook, some sort of like what happens next effect in the video, like a countdown video, right? It's a really powerful way, but then it all stays in that Calgary bucket. So you could have a bucket on listing tours, a bucket of content that is all about Calgary and moving to, and then you can have another bucket that's all about, tips and tricks for buyers and sellers or market stats and newsworthy content. I would stick away from tips and tricks myself for buyers and sellers, because I just feel like it's not nearly as valuable, and people are searching for stuff when they need it. So I think what's the most relevant to a viewer right now? Like, what's the most relevant thing in your market? It's probably housing affordability, right? So, and a little tip, if you're wondering like, hey, I've done listing tours, or I want to get started in listing tours. Well, if you've already done tours on your YouTube channel, you want to start a new bucket, go to YouTube or go to Google and type in moving to my city. And what you will see is, when you scroll halfway down the page, you'll see 5 questions that people ask. And it'll actually say, yeah, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Brad, I got 3 people with questions here.
Okay, yeah, you bet.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No worries.
Gus was asking, Gus, you want to come in here and ask your question?
Hey, Shawn, it wasn't as much of a question, but just, I've been getting going with video. I've been kicking myself in the butt and getting going. I'm doing a good job with content, but I'm not putting the stuff out there because I'm really struggling with what to say or how to say it. I don't know if you have a process for that.
I mean, for me, I'm obviously a rambler. I like to ramble. I like to talk. And then the longer I talk, I say something at some point that's valuable in there, right? I'm not really good at condensing it down. That's why I'm a better editor than live, because I like being able to be like, oh, that was not necessary. So, I mean, the biggest challenge for me when I got started was I didn't know what to say about these tours. I was a renovator, so I understood like what I was seeing when I walked around a house. But honestly, I think the best thing to do is to push record in your car and start having conversations with yourself as you're driving around about the market. Like, you have to get really comfortable having those conversations so you can keep coming back to those same talking points. But there's just no way to do it without getting the reps in. I just wouldn't get the reps in live if that's what your biggest concern is. The other thing I would do is, I mean, honestly, we do use AI and Chat GPT and those things to kind of take something. What I would do is you go onto Chat GPT, use a plugin like Insights, and then take an article that you want to talk about, plug that link into Chat GPT and say, hey, can you please summarize this article for me? Like, what are the 3 main takeaways? And then you take those 3 main takeaways, those 3 sentences that they wrote on each topic, and then you just put your own twist on it. Like, think about who it's for and think about how that matters to those people. And then you're good to go, I think, from there. But you just have to get in the reps to get the confidence up.
And just a quick follow-up to that, you kind of have this, to me, the hardest part is getting started. You have this signature thing that you do, that you start with a lot of energy. Is that something that came natural, or something that you built up to and found some rhythm with it?
So like in my faith, like in my congregation growing up, there was a family there was a deaf man. He was about, I don't know, maybe 68, 69 years old. And his wife had really bad arthritis, and she would translate for him. And so when I was about 12, we would see her, and she was in so much pain after like the meetings that she would ask us, and she asked us, and she's like, hey, would you guys be interested in learning sign language? So we would go to their house on Sundays, and we would learn sign language, which is all about hand movement and all of that stuff. And from there, it's just kind of stuck with me. You know, I'm not actually doing sign language when I'm out there, but I express myself like with hands, right? And the funny thing about sign language is that the smaller you play, like the more conscious I was that, oh man, there's 150 people in this room, and some of them are like 16, 17-year-old girls, and I'm a 16, 17-year-old guy, and I'm at the front left, like doing sign language. The smaller I play, the more conscious I am of my own personal self, the less I'm actually communicating to that person. Like, I was actually robbing that person of what was being said. And so it was just a thing where I'm like, I want to transfer this knowledge and the energy and the passion and everything that the other people are working so hard to output. So that's where I get all the hand movements from. But I can say, like, they say like 90% of communication is nonverbal. And so whether it's like smiling, looking excited and interested, sharing your passion, moving about it, like talking about it, that stuff's infectious. Like, listen to someone talk about something they're passionate about, and they're using their hands and they're smiling and they're talking. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can stumble over words. You can do all those things. That part doesn't matter. The part you're being left with is how it made you feel. Right. That's I think the big part.
Awesome. I think Blair had a question next.
Yeah, Blair's up.
Yeah, so
Come on, Blair.
Brad, 3 questions. The first is,
What's up, Blair? Good to see you, man.
Are having multiple channels necessary to separate types of content out?
No. As long as your audience is for your market, you can just have different buckets and playlists of channel on one. If you've got content that's for agents, that should be on a different channel.
Okay. Number 2 is, doing shorts on one's channel hurt the subscriber base?
Nope, it doesn't. In fact, in many ways, it's likely being favored somewhat in the way that it's going to get you in front of people that otherwise you wouldn't get in front of. And so that's the hardest part, is that once YouTube has found your audience for you, to keep growing, you have to keep growing. Like, that's just the bottom line for it. Otherwise, YouTube will have already found those people for you.
Okay. And then last question is, if you're at a property, let's say doing a home tour, property tour, whatever, do you then do different types of video for other channels, or you're just reformatting whatever you took?
Yeah, so we do film some vertical for all the different sites. We usually do one quick pass, and then we have, and when I say one quick pass, what I mean is, like, we just put the camera vertically on the gimbal and we do a quick wide angle pass. So we have that when we got the drone up, we've got a Mini Pro 3, so we'll just flip it vertical and get a shot or two there. But oftentimes, like in the beginning, I really didn't. We only ever shot things horizontal, and I'd just punch in, and it's Instagram. It was totally fine. Like, I mean, the reality is like good lighting and good framing, it's going to get you, some basic understanding of what shots look good are going to be fine.
Thank you.
Catherine, if you want to come in here, she had a question for you. So we got tons of questions now. Everyone wants to hear from you, Brad. Catherine, you there?
Yeah, hi. I don't know. Can you guys see me?
Yeah, we can see you.
Yeah.
Oh,
We
hi,
hear ya.
Brad. I'm a total fan, So I am just now starting to get into YouTube, and I actually hired someone to help with the thumbnails and the description and guide me with the scripting and that sort of thing. I have a question regarding when you first started. Were you doing everything yourself, the editing and all of that? At what point did you see that you were experiencing growth and you wanted to add on more people? What was your budget when you first started? Were you sort of like on a shoestring budget? And I'm sure it's very different now. But can you give me some insight into that? If, by hiring this person, I'm hoping to, I don't want to say fast forward, but obviously kind of hand things over to them on editing, because that's just not something that I spend a lot of time on. So anyway, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely different for everyone. For me, when I got started, I really I wouldn't sell real estate if I couldn't do the creative side of things. Just like I wouldn't be interested in it. So I really enjoy the creative side of things. So for me, it was like, I liked the process. I actually like editing, grab a bottle of wine and hang out for 5-6 hours and edit 3 minutes of footage. Like, I enjoy that. That's something that made me happy. So I would say for you, if that's not something you're definitely into, you're going to have to find some way to, set aside some money for it. For me, I much would rather have the tools. And then if I didn't have the business, it was like, well, how are you going to get the business? Well, the way you're going to get the business without going deep in debt by paying a videographer to do a whole bunch of this stuff is you're going to have some level of confidence or comfortableness with yourself on camera. And the reason why I think that's so important is because there are lessons that you will only learn. There's the lessons you'll only learn about yourself and your business and your content and what your audience wants when you've put in the money and the time and the energy and you've posted and now you're watching the analytics. And so like all those things that you actually need to know are things that you will only ever really take the time to get to know when you're like, wait, why didn't they watch this? What didn't they like that? Why did they drop off at 45 seconds? What did I do at 45 seconds? Right. And you start going back in and you start learning how to look at this and reading analytics and things like that, because you're just trying to get the most out of it. You made something, you're proud of it. You want as many people as possible to see it. And I think there is some value. I would love to edit everyone's videos. That would be great.
I also love editing. I use Premiere Pro and all that. It's something everyone's like outsource it, and it's something that. Sorry, I don't want to babble here. We got a lot of questions. Rich Curtis, you are up, buddy. Come on in.
All right, hey Brad, thanks, man. I heard you on another podcast, and actually, I've been doing this 18 years, and hearing you, I realized, shoot, my marketing is becoming so anachronistic after 18 years. Like I started in this business before the iPhone, and here this guy comes in 3 years, killing it with video. So it got me fired up to reinvigorate my marketing. I just shot my first $1 million tour.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah, did really well. It was a lot of fun. I had 3 questions for you. One is other people who do a lot of talking about YouTube for real estate recommend not posting on your own personal socials, your videos, because you get a lot of friends, family, and people pop on, watch for 2 minutes and bounce out. Your average view duration goes down and it kind of kills your content. They were recommending when you first start, put it on YouTube, leave it on YouTube, let your YouTube audience grow sort of separate from whatever else you're doing. If you haven't had a heavily social media based marketing program before where you have a larger followership outside of your, past clients and your friends. What's your take on that one?
Yeah. Okay. So first off, like make no mistake, like your family and your friends are going to be likely your first YouTube subscribers and followers along the way. There likely is not going to be so many of them that it's going to be an issue. Where it becomes an issue is if you're sharing your YouTube links on Facebook, if you're sharing your YouTube links, sending them out to them. What I would do though, like when I first got started, is like I worked all this time. I wanted friends to see it. Like, so my close friends and family, I'd send it over to them. I was like, hey, take a look. And if you could, watch it all the way through and write a comment. And I that was the only thing I asked from. They saw that I did all this work. They thought it was cool. It was kind of entertaining anyways. So they didn't mind watching through it. But I didn't go on Facebook and ask people to do that, because you're right. When people are on Facebook, they're in Facebook mind and they're scrolling. And then if they go to YouTube, they're not set up to like sit back and watch YouTube. So they bounce after 15, 20 seconds. It's a bad experience in YouTube's eyes. And so they don't show your content to as much people because they don't want more people to see your content and bounce from the platform. They want people to stay on the platform as long as possible and then keep watching more videos so they can sell more ads, and then you'll be the benefactor of it. And that's actually the wild thing about YouTube, is like they will reward you for being the start or a continuing piece of someone's viewership on that day. So someone might start by researching moving to Calgary, watch my video, and then from there, go watch a whole bunch of other videos afterwards. And if they do that, I'm going to get the credit for it, because they're going to see that as a really positive experience, and they're going to want to show my video to more people. And so that is one of those things that lends itself to, okay, now you've committed this time and energy to make the content. What can you do to just turn the dial a little bit on making it a little bit more energetic, a little bit flashier, a little bit funner, a little bit less corporate, all that kind of stuff. And if you can turn the dial a little bit on that, the outsized response from YouTube is that you're likely going to start to be one of the few agents in your market that has content that YouTube really likes and sets itself apart from others.
Nice. Two more quick questions. One, and I noticed in your videos, your personality comes through, but some of the things you like or do around the city isn't as prominent. Recently in your Calgary one, you mentioned that you love to play golf and that sort of thing. I live in a rural community where adventure sports are a big thing. I'm about to shoot just like your Calgary video version, and I was an adventure sports guide before. So I'm thinking about being out there in the life jacket on the raft, being out there.
100%, yeah. Like in our moving to Calgary video, we shot in like 25 to 30 different locations. We do the same thing. Like I recently did a listing tour right by a golf course. And so it's like the video starts with me on the golf course, right? The reality is I probably travel, I don't know, maybe 25 to 30 times a year, speak in different places, visit different places, attend conferences, travel a lot with my family, and I got a full team. So a lot of times now, what we noticed in the last year or two is we just got to get the video done. Just got to get the video done and out there. And the reality is like, if you tried to make every video an incredible banger, you just never get the job done. So you have to just pick your spots. Like I've got 3 or 4 videos out of hundreds that everyone in the industry seems to know or have seen, but 3 or 4 of hundreds. No one would have, even if there was hundreds of amazing videos, people would still only really care or be interested in a couple that sort of stood out to them. Right. So there's that aspect of it, but anything that a person can do to like share those pieces of themselves in the video, share that story, like it's huge, right? Like I always say, like the weird YouTube effect is I remember one day I changed the brakes on like our family's little Volvo. And I remember I was watching a YouTube video that had like 800,000 views. Later that day, I'm traveling 70 miles an hour with my family in the car. And I thought, wait, is that guy a mechanic? And I'm like, what happens if this dude's not a mechanic? Like, and why? And I didn't check anything. I just looked at the views and I thought, well, if he's got that many views, it's got to be right. And that's when you realize like someone walking around on the other side of a screen in a lab coat, I'm like, I don't check to see if they have a PhD or if they're a doctor or, or anything like that. I just associate that with it. So we had that same effect. I went and walked around a luxury listing, and it was like, everyone's like, I guess you're a luxury realtor. Right. And it was just this weird effect where people were like, they see you in this environment and then they associate your personal brand and who you are with that. So the more that you can do to show that, the more likely that your people will find you.
Nice. Awesome, man. Then last one, you started with all the listing videos to attract listing clients. Over 18 years, I've tried really hard to establish myself as a listing agent because I got little kids and I don't have the time to run around a lot of. What you're doing now with the Calgary video and what I'm about to launch into is content that will attract a lot of buyers. I've purposely not built a team. So you have a team where you can just pump the buyers out to the team and not be running around in tours. I'm a little concerned about burying myself in buyers and tours with, doing the move to Placerville content like you did the move to Calgary. Like if you didn't have a team, would you still go down the pathway of doing this other kind of content?
Dude, get the leads and figure it out later. Like get all the business, all the interest, and then just like, it doesn't matter. You don't need a team. You just need a referral partner in your market to go work those buyers and just be like, hey, I'll take 35%. Like these are warm buyers. Right. So for me, I would just say, get all the business you possibly can always. Right. Like you don't actually know what's going to hit or how long something's going to kind of come around for it. The team does work all the buyers, and we're consciously trying to create content that attracts buyers now to support the team, because I don't want to be filming 3 tours a week. YouTube doesn't even want me to upload 3 tours a week, I don't think. So it's just more about like, at the end of the day, right? The social media, the video, all this stuff, it's all meant to serve our lives, right? It's just meant to serve like what we actually want. And I think like it's fun to have people recognize you when you go out places and all that. I'm here for one reason. I'm doing this business and this career to take care of my wife and my kids and build a better life for us. And so and to enjoy the time that I spend doing real estate, and to enjoy the time I spend working with people who I really like doing real estate. So at the end of the day, that's all I'm really looking for out of it. And so I just constantly have to ask myself, like, who's this serving? Like as I was growing, like when I sold 71 million myself in 2020, like I said earlier in the call, and it's like, I didn't like that. I hated that year of my life. And it was like, I would be sitting on the couch with my kids beside me and I'd be a million miles away thinking about an amendment that had to get signed or waiting for a DocuSign to come in. And I was like, I don't want to be there like this for my kids. So now I'm consciously trying to think, I don't want to be an Enes Yilmazar or a Ryan Serhant. Right. I want to have fun when I'm away from my family, doing something I'm passionate about, so I can get back to my family as quickly as possible and have fun and do things I'm passionate about doing with them.
Cool. Thank you.
I think Rich Parra, mute a question next if you're still here.
Can we pass Rich? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, Richard.
Real estate Rich?
Yeah,
Real estate Rich.
What's up, Brad? Sorry,
What's
I'm
up, my man?
Driving back from vacation right now, but I didn't want to miss this. So you talked about, doing the listing video for your dad's property. In the beginning, is it just your listings that you were doing video for, or were you finding other agents to do video for to kind of build that content?
Yeah, no, I was fortunate. I only did my own listings. The only one I ever did was about the 4th or the 5th video where I reached out to a spec home builder that had built like a $6 million home. It was modern. Like I looked at all the most expensive homes in the city that were on the MLS, and I thought, okay, which one of them would I be excited about actually touring? And everything looked like these little kind of old traditional castles and stuff. And I was like, I don't even like those. And then I saw this one that was really architecturally interesting and modern and cool. And I reached out to him. I was like, hey, I'd just like to make a video, and my wife and I would like to tour. I think people like on my YouTube channel would be interested. And at the time, I'm like, I've got like 118 subscribers, and some of my views, I got like 700-800 views. Like, we're already getting business from that. So they just said yes. And that was the only video I ever had to do and shoot for someone else. And after that, all the other listing tours of Calgary are all mine. with the exception of I did a series for Alpine Park, which was a community, but that community, they paid us like, they ended up actually paying us nearly $100,000 to go film 12 of their show homes in this brand new community because they wanted to launch their community with our brand. And this is going to eventually be a 40,000 person community. So if you think about it, like the guys who buy bus benches in that community or who try to farm that community don't have anywhere close to the same sort of exposure when people are learning about the community through our videos, right? Our tours and stuff. So from that, we also did as much business from that contract, but everything else has been ours.
And then one more question. You've got a decent Instagram following. Do you find that you get more followers come to YouTube from your Instagram or from YouTube to your Instagram?
I think what I find is a lot of people that follow me from Instagram don't even know I have a YouTube channel. A lot of people that follow me on YouTube never really follow me on Instagram. Maybe if there's a little small crossover, maybe like 2-3% or so. Vast majority of people, though, I don't really think about me beyond the moment of finishing the video and being like, that's cool. And that's about it.
Thank you, Rich, for asking those questions through your toilet paper hole roller. That's what it sounded like. Where were we? Miriam,
I got a question.
Who? Oh, Miriam's next, Dan. Hold up there, buddy. Okay. Good to see you, though.
Miriam.
So sorry. Can y'all hear me? Because my camera, for some reason, is not working.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, would you say for YouTube, doing like a property tour, is it just as effective to just shoot it first and then do a voiceover, or do I have to show myself in it because I hate getting in front of the camera?
So, I mean, if you look at a guy like Tyler Haspin or a couple of these other kids that are just crushing it on TikTok doing these tours, literally all they do is they never speak to their phones or in their content. All they do is they show a quick like selfie of them outside the house, kind of looking back towards the house, and then an interior tour of the house. And then they just describe it in a voiceover. They just say, like, as you approach this 2-story home in the community of Sundance, you walk through the front door and there's this gorgeous home office to your right. Past the home office, you enter into the living room and the kitchen. And I love how the cabinets go all the way up to the ceiling, and how check out this really cool faucet, and like all that. They just do it as a voiceover. So they do that content though so often. They have such an incredible cadence and consistency to it that people build and understand their brand through it. Tyler Haspin also wears a big flat brim millennial cap that like lets you like visually know like, oh, it's another Tyler video. It's another Tyler video. Like he looks like the busiest guy in real estate. And he really is. I mean, he like the guys, he's burying other agents with his content. Like he just creates so much of it, but he doesn't he's built this big brand without it being him writing large and long scripts, and without him even having to talk on camera. He just does the voiceover.
Okay, great. Yeah, because I like I said, I'm so afraid of getting in front of the camera. I do sometimes, but it's just not my favorite, especially walking, and I just wouldn't know what to do with my hands or anyway. So that's why I killer voice.
I find it helpful to hold 2 mugs at once, 2 coffee mugs. This feels natural.
I'm an awkward person, and I hate that. I'm like, I hope I never have to do that to do well on YouTube. And then my other question, hopefully you didn't already answer it and I completely missed it. You said that you wouldn't recommend videos that have tips in it, or like the usual, here's 5 reasons why, blah, blah, blah. Why is that?
So what I would say is, like, if you're going to share that kind of content, like truly make it like a contrarian or like a hot take kind of approach, right? There's just enough people that saying like, hey, do you know what the conditional sale period's like? Or do you know what the purpose of title is? It's like, well, that's not really high value content. It's like, what do people not know about title? Or what do they not know about some part of the process that no one seems to talk about? If you can share that, then it's helpful.
Okay, great. So maybe it's instead of doing, hold off from doing those videos, or maybe find a really niche, very like unanswered question out there that might, garner some search on YouTube. That I guess that's better than just doing those normal videos that everyone posts.
And
Okay.
before Shawn cut off my rambling thing earlier in the call, I'm just kidding. Honestly, if you're really stuck for something, go to Google, type in a topic, type in your city, scroll down halfway through, and there'll be 4 or 5 questions that say people also ask. And if you look at those 5 questions, there's no amount of research that you can do that's more valuable to people who are going to be consuming your content than the questions that they're putting into Google. Like Google's so good at this stuff. If it says like, is now a good time to buy a home in Calgary, right? Like, is it still affordable to buy a home in Calgary, right? Like I've heard, are there any rentals available in Calgary? Like those are the thoughts that are most on the minds of the viewer. So they're the ones that if you answer those questions, they're most likely to be relevant to a larger pool of people and expand your own audience.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
No problem, Miriam.
Dan, you're up.
Yo, Brad. How's it going?
Hey, Dan the realtor. How you doing, man?
Good to see you, man. Question for you. You were talking about an insight plugin on ChatGPT. We all love AI. Could you let us know about this little plugin that you like to use, as well as any other current AI stuff you're using to help plug along your stuff? Obviously, your mind, your strategy, and your plan is a lot forward than most people. So obviously your stuff you're working on may be a little different, but we'd love to know what you're using in AI.
Okay. I'm going to give you guys the hottest tip of all, but this is for people who are. So the biggest challenge with YouTube is there's so much content. You have to do so much research. You have to understand titles, thumbnails, your ideal avatar, all these different things in order to create relevant content. And so often the best ways to do that before creating any topic on any video is to research your competitors. And when you're researching your competitors, what you're going to want to know is how do you condense that down, save hours of research, and try to really find out what's working and what doesn't work. So there's a little website called harpa.ai. Harpa is Harpa. It is a Google Chrome plugin. You download it. I might even be able to find a script for you that you can use to put into it. But what it will do is I can run this script on it. And what will happen is it will look at the YouTube video without even watching it. It will summarize the main points of a 10, 11 minute video or whatever length it is. And then from there, it will summarize all the comments. What were the comments? What were the most hot button topics from it? And then it will use AI to determine who was this video for, how old are they, what sex are they, what city do they live in, what business do they do, what are they interested in, and then what are the 4 videos I should be making after this based on all of the commentary and engagement. And so it's a tool that you can use to like condense 3-4 hours of research into 15-20 minutes. That's harpa.ai. In ChatGPT, there are plugins, and the 2 plugins that I really like are Insights, and there's a YouTube one as well. Oh, sorry, it's Insights is the YouTube one, and then the other one is Web Pilot. And Web Pilot will allow you to, because ChatGPT is limited up to the end of 2021. But if you use Web Pilot and it's a plugin that's enabled, I think you just go to your profile and you engage the beta features on there, and then you allow plugins, and then you use those plugins, either Insights or Web Pilot. All you have to do is do the exact same thing, just like copy and paste in a YouTube link and say, summarize the main points. Copy and paste in your local real estate board's like monthly statistics package. Copy and paste it into there and say, like, condense this into 4 or 5 things. Give opinion, make it funny, make it snarky, whatever you want, and get that little bit of a script going from there. So you have like a foundation that's 80% of like the vital stuff, right? The 80% that actually matters out of that report. And then just put your own little twist and your own thought on it. So ChatGPT websites and that are good. Now we're also using video and a few others to create short form vertical clips from long form content. So like if you have a podcast, like my buddy Bob Tompkins and I, on our podcast, we can run it in there. It'll generate like 10 or 11 auto captioned shorts for us from that video. Or you could just use, like a foreign company. We've got a company that we just engaged to do edits for us. And I'm not entirely convinced that they're not just running it through an AI as well.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Rich wants to know what prompts you're using for Harpa to get it to spit out like the in-depth analysis.
That I would have to double check. I do have it copy and pasted somewhere. So Rich, maybe you can reach out to me and I'll see if I can remember to get that for you. But it's like legit, like it's a pretty massive prompt. So
Okay, I think we're gonna bug you for that so we can drop it in the Facebook group.
yeah, you bet.
And before we go, there was some comments of people watching live in the Facebook group. Rebecca Wendleck. Hi, you've got a beautiful set, Brad, and she loves the referral style team. Okay, so no questions.
I have one more question for you, Brad.
Yeah.
As you are, I'm sure you travel a lot with the industry and all the things going on outside of real estate. What keeps you innovative and motivated in terms of YouTube? So who are the people that you're looking up to? Not necessarily trying to emulate. I'm not a big emulate guy. I'm more of a, insightful thing. So I'd love to know, who are you keeping up with? Who are the authors, kind of podcasters, anything that outside of real estate to keep your stuff fresh?
Yeah, that's cool. So, okay, like there's a few different creators I watch for different reasons. Like, so when it comes to personal finance stuff, I like guys like Andre Gique, because he's got kind of a cool, simple way of explaining complex ideas, making it simple for people to watch. There's also another YouTube channel called New Money. I watch New Money more because he has a really great set and he does really great graphics and animations. It makes it really, really easy and simple to watch. I also watch Johnny Harris. Johnny Harris is a fantastic YouTuber that tells incredible stories. It's very, very high level stuff. Remember, once again, like the goal here is to just reach a little bit when we create our content, like try to learn something. Sean King, huge guy I watch all the time. On top of that, I would say that's sort of in the personal finance space. I've been watching a lot of golf YouTube lately. And the reason I watch it and the reason why it works so well, like guys with small channels blow up really fast and they get crazy. They'll just film like an 18-hole game. But if you think about golf like encapsulates perfectly what works about YouTube is that like you just don't know what the next shot is going to be. It could be disaster, it could be victory, it could be average. And so I'm like, what happens next? Like, is he going to par the next hole? Is he going to stay 2 strokes down? Is he going to turn it around at the end? I find myself watching that stuff. So it's something that like next year I'm actually going to film, actually probably in 2 weeks, I'm going to film like a golf game with a local pro here and see if I, spot him 10 shots, if he can beat me. Like if I'm 10 shots up, if he can overtake those 10 shots and beat me. And we're going to kind of film something kind of cool and just see if it is something. Cause I'm just trying to think like, what do I want to do a few years from now? And I'm like creating content is probably part of it. So I look at that kind of stuff. I'm a big Peter McKinnon, Casey Neistat fan, Maddie Hapoya, Peter Lindgren, a whole bunch of guys in the actual creating content, like high-end cinematic kind of spaces. I like all that stuff as well. And then in the YouTube spaces, I'm still a Ryan Serhant fan. I'm still an Eric Conover fan. I'm still an Enes Yilmazar fan. You're going to see some like really great, like Enes Yilmazar is going to be like, this is how you make really beautiful cinematography around a home. Ryan Serhant is going to be like, how do you bring a lot of energy and excitement to it? And if you watch Ryan Serhant, his team is constantly trying to stay ahead or change with the algorithm. So it's someone I watch. And then the third person, let's see, I guess, but Ryan Serhant and Enes Yilmazar.
Yeah, no one was ever gonna remember that, bud.
There you go. So those guys are huge, right, on like property tours. But then I also watch my good friend Ken Pozak. I think he does an incredible job. I think he's probably the most complete agent in North America between content creator, operator, all that sort of stuff. Anus Bizarre, fantastic. Yeah, I follow that channel too, actually. No. But Ken Pozak's fantastic because Ken was a guy, like, I think every person should do this in their own business, but Ken was a guy that I wanted to stay just 1 year behind, just 1 year. I looked at him and it was like, he was expanding his team and I was starting to think about it. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep him and use him as like a mile marker in my business. So whatever Ken was doing about a year ago is something I'm usually trying to implement in my business now, because he's just a great operator. And whether it's getting an office space or his shift in content or all that stuff, and like, we're really, really close friends. And there's things that I do really well, and there's things that he does really well. I just think he's the most complete. And so I would pick some creator rather than picking Ryan Serhant. I would pick someone who is about a year further down the road, you think, from you, and try to like look and watch what they're doing so you kind of know what to do next. And then I've got like 4 or 5 people like that I kind of follow.
That's awesome stuff. Thank you.
Okay, I think last
Well,
one, and then we're going to let Brad go back to his day. Rich, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, Brad, you were talking about the golf thing. One of the things that excites me about this video thing is learning these skills within the business that I feed my family, and then applying them potentially to passion projects with the outdoor stuff that I do inside. What you're talking about with the golf. Do you worry that if you bounce off and start doing a golf channel, you sort of divert or water down, or it would have some kind of tangential impact on what you've already built in the real estate?
So this would purely be a passion project for me if I was to go do it, because I'm like, what would I like to do? I'd like to go and golf around North America with Bob Tompkins. He's a big idiot, a complete dork, terrible golfer, super fun. I have some of my best times I have when I'm away from my family are with Bob. So I'm like, I'd love to go play Pebble Beach with Bob and bring an epic, cinematographer along to film it and create that content. Does that have any value for anyone? Definitely not on my YouTube channel. It'd be a separate channel, passion project, fun. I'd love to do a family travel blog stuff. Like, I love doing that kind of stuff. But yeah, the whole purpose of all this stuff is to like have it somehow serve the bigger picture of what you actually want to do in life. And so that's why I like it. I'll say one more thing. That's it. I got I've talked about it for 6 months now. Probably talked about it for 2 years ago. I think I mentioned it 2 years ago. Ronin RS3. But the thing that I've been doing for the last few years, I've been wanting to build a channel called Brand It Like Brad, a YouTube channel, which is content specifically for agents. We actually have our first 4 videos fully filmed. So everything from how to start a YouTube channel to how to leverage your videos. If you're stuck, what video you should make next, what's in my camera bag, all the details behind my brand. I'm just doing it because I love talking about this stuff, and there's no agenda other than maybe I'll get invited to talk more about this stuff that I'm a geek over. And so that channel should be released by the end of October. All we have to do is do the channel art and the thumbnails, the end of September. So it should be coming out in the next week and a half, and then we're good to go. But I'm off to New York City tomorrow, so I won't be getting anything done this week on it.
That's
You'll
awesome.
also be in Toronto at the end of the month, right? At the Tom Story conference.
That's right. At the end of October, right after Rise, we come back. I spend 1 day and then I fly to Toronto to go and do the Agent Confidential conference with him. Super stoked for it.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Brad. That was absolutely packed with knowledge. I'm gonna get like 17 reels out of that. I'm excited.
Just tag me in some, because I'm so bad at uploading lately to Instagram.
You got it.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, guys.
Me and Chris will be sending you a basket as well. So
listen, Kristen, Shawn, you guys are the best. Thanks for doing this for everyone. This is so good. I'm going to tune in again.
Appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Take care, guys.
So you're the best. We have Katie Day next week too. That's going to be an exciting one. We got a great lineup.
I'm going to have to miss it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'll come by.
Katie,
I love Katie. You can tell her I said that. I'm just kidding. Katie,
I'm actually going to send her the clip.
Yeah, perfect. That's good. All right, we'll see you guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Brad. I really appreciate that. Everyone follow Brad.
Thanks a lot. See ya. Bye.